first, and identifying the right kind of content the people need, because in the same district itself, different clusters might need a different kind of information. So identifying the right kind of information is a very central to this kind of activity, and ensuring the bandwidth available, building the tools. Third one is the building the appropriate tools to generate the impact of the content generation and interpretation of the information. So tools have to become the segment of that. That's where the Visual Basic and other visualization technologies will help us to interpret and make the more communication effective, so that things become more clear to them in their own simplistic language. Though there are so many technology interfaces here involved in the whole process. So once these three activities are taken up, I think information spread and that can benefit the people at large. Thank you, and I request our co-chair to add his remarks.
I think I had been speaking a lot, and of course what Dr. Ramesh says is very relevant. Content generation, and I will add that the participatory content generation is really the right approach, because these are the people who require some information, and if it is produced by the people who have already experienced that kind of information and used that information, if they are telling it, it has more weightage, and local leadership has to be created, and local capacity building to create content has to be developed. And the organizations like DEF and maybe the big corporates like Intel or the Microsoft or others, they have to, if they have to get business, probably they have to open up their strategy in the rural areas. And with the knowledge platform being made available by the Government of India, I think if the synergy of all these things can be leveraged together, probably there is an immense scope of stepping into the rural side. And it is the rural side which requires attention right now. So with these remarks, I thank you all, though we are very limited, but they say that the initiatives made by limited people ultimately reaches masses. So with this hope, we close this session. Thank you very much. Thank you everybody.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Co-Chair. So thank you, Chair, and thank you, Co-Chair. Thank you, Vinay. As a token of appreciation, we just would like to hand over some mementos to Chair, Co-Chair, and the presenter. Mia, just bring it here. Not get the visa clearance because of certain troubles.
Beyond your
Co-Chair, I request Co-Chair to hand it over to the Chair. And the chair can
one each to everybody who is
chair can present to the Co-Chair, and the Chair can present to Mr. Vinay for Digital Green. And I thank all of you for sharing your thoughts and knowledge here in this platform, and we should join for lunch, which is already served. Thank you all of you. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, yes.
News, and they were kind of telecasting some programs about the activities, because they approached that channel, that the guy who used to run that cable channel, and paid him some amount of money, which was very cheap at that point of time. I'm talking about 10 years back, and bought airtime for about an hour. It was totally an unconventional media at that point of time, and they used to do that. And next day when I was in my office, I was collector of that particular district, and I was in my office, and then all these channel operators, these satellite channel operators, they stormed into my room, and they said it is completely illegal, and how can they, these women groups, what do they know about telecasting? And this channel fellow is eating into our viewership, eating into our listenership, and we totally oppose this because we have been licensed by government and those kind of things, you know. So, it really made me think about so many issues. The first issue was that the program that was being telecast by this self-help group about the awareness about the alcoholism, and also they did a small kind of a program on TB, on tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS, and it was really very popular because it was done in a local style with lots of songs and a lot of comedy. There was a lot of comedy element, and it was becoming very popular. So, you know, I just wanted to highlight that the community has the capability to come out with the communication strategies which they feel are really important, and that it really touches the lives of people. But then it also faces a lot of challenges that we need to be aware of. And I think it's really an excellent session for us to discuss the kind of opportunities that we have and the kind of challenges that are, that will be faced by the community groups. And I did not highlight so many issues because the community broadcasting, I think most of you, whoever is present in this room, all of you are aware the kind of challenges that it faces. And I'll maybe reserve my comments, the detailed comments when we finish with all the presentations. Thank you very much.
Madan Mohan Rao here is one of the extremely well-known writers on ICT issues, publishes all over the world. Madan, could you introduce the session?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Sorry for being a bit late. This is one of the more interesting sessions, very near and dear to my heart. I think one of the very interesting developments in the field of ICT was how the various different fields have converged. There was the world of PCs, the world of the internet, the world of radio, television, etc. And now, thanks to convergence, we're now seeing a very good merging of different kinds of platforms. In fact, Sunil is going to kick off in a few minutes with a very interesting example of using using mobiles and the internet, etc. to create a community media platform. So old definitions of community media, community radio, community centers are now being morphed and mashed in very interesting new ways. So the speakers that we picked here come from all across South Asia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, India as well. We also had another award way back in July, the N Brilliant Award, and we also showcased some of the mobile applications in community media. In this one, we're talking about two categories. One is alternative news, which is beyond what the mainstream perceives as on the news agenda, etc., and also on more community-based agendas. And as you know, different parts of Asia have had different experiences with the regulatory systems, etc. Some are very proactive, so countries like Nepal have some of the most high penetrations of community radio in any country in the world, and others like India have been a bit more nervous on regulatory aspects of community radio licenses, etc. So I think some of these will be teased out in the case studies. So we will have some deep dives into actual case studies of community media, and then in the discussion afterwards, we'll step back and look at what are the bigger, larger issues in community media. I'm very glad that Ms. Supriya Sahu is joining us here from IAS. Welcome. Also Sanjay Vinayur from the Community Radio Forum of India, and my also colleague, I used to be research director for AMIC in Singapore, Asian Media Information and Communication Center, and I'm very glad that the brand new Secretary General, Sandeep Bhupit, well, 1 year now, is 1.5 years, is here with us to share with us. They also organize, by the way, a conference called Radio Asia every year in Delhi in February, yeah. So please catch them later on for a very good comprehensive forum on radio issues in Asia. That's going to be in Delhi. Anyway, let's kick off right now. I'm going to ask each of our presenters to go through. We have sort of 1.5 hours in that range of time. So, sorry, not 2.5 hours of time. And I'm going to ask each to speak for about 50-20 minutes and take Q&A after that. 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Oops, sorry, yeah. Overall, with questions after that. So,
it's okay. We can
manage. Yeah. Speak as fast as I do. We can move very fast. Okay? Don't worry. Yeah. So, without further ado, let's start off with Gaon Ki Awaaz with Sunil Saxena. A great example, by the way, of an academic turned entrepreneur. It's not that once you become an academic, you say goodbye to the world of startups and entrepreneurship and all that. Here's a great example of a role model for many people in the communications field, for someone who can be a practicing journalist, an academic, a dean, and a startup all at the same time. Over to you, Sunil.
Thanks, Madan. Thank you very much. I've known Madan for more than a decade. It's always been a pleasure to hear Madan speak at any conference. He always brings in so much of new ideas on the net, on new technology, on any field concerning ICT, not only from India, from across the world. Thanks, Madan. Thank you very much. this is something, I'm so glad that Mr. Priya Sahu is here, because there's a very ticklish question that faces me on the subject. Maybe your ministry can help us clarify my doubts on that. Gaon Ke Awaaz is basically an initiative that we took because as journalists we felt that in cities we have an explosion of information. We have so much information, we don't need any more information. But Indian villages are information silent zones. They have no source of information. They are illiterate, there's no electricity, there's no way you can communicate with them despite India reaching such a state. So we basically wanted to develop a new service, and we were inspired by the spread of mobiles in India and the fact that a lot of villagers have started buying mobile phones. Some families in the villages even have 2 phones, which is amazing, absolutely amazing to me. I'll give you a very quick sample, which is a 30-second pulse of what we do. Oh. Okay. And then this is what I'm doing. This is what the girl you see on your screen is just about 16 or 17 years old. She's doing, I'll take one moment. I'm so sorry. It's just not my day. Anyway, I will not.
You can play it from your mobile phone. You can play from your mobile phone the audio and then put the mic on.
Yeah, that's a good.
Now basically what this girl is just about 17 or 18 years old. She's studying in class 12 in a village in Uttar Pradesh. And she, after doing her studies, goes out, collect information from the village where she lives and then from neighboring villages. And there's one more reporter we have on staff. Together they collect information, record the news in the mobile phone that we have provided them, and then they transmit it to me for transmission back to the subscribers that we have. And the amazing thing, and what really amazes me is the human psychology. And just as we are very familiar with Bhatkada, the Indian city, when this girl walks out in the village, it is amazing that people recognize her and say, that's Priya Gupta from Gaon Ke Awaaz. Can you believe it? The psychology is exactly the same. Now the objectives, I mean, why we, what were the goals we had in mind when we set up the Gaon Ke Awaaz service? We wanted to basically redefine news. We have so much news that has come down to us from 200 years. The news model has remained the same. We wanted the news to be about villagers, of villagers, and by villagers. It had to be hyper-local and of interest to them. The second most important objective we thought was, since the villager can't read, he has no access to government information. All the great schemes that the government of India or the state governments throw up very often never reach the actual beneficiary. Maybe Mr. Priya Sahu can later elaborate on that. But what I found was most of these great government schemes, very good welfare schemes, end up in the block development office and never go forward beyond that. So we wanted some public information to be there on the news service, and at some point of time make the two-way channel so that every villager actually becomes a stakeholder. It is not a one-to-many service, it becomes a many-to-many service. The challenges that we faced were 5, and the first one was illiteracy. Because the villagers are illiterate, so SMS was out. It could not possibly be a model on which the news was sent. So we decided to use voice calls that the villagers could understand easily. The second challenge was the phones that are being used in villages are basically very low-end phones. So obviously you cannot move MMS on it. So once again, MMS was not a solution, very much like SMS was not a solution. So we had to look at voice-based calls as a possible solution. The third and very important challenge, like any news service, was to make sure that the information is credible. It is not enough to generate information. it is very important to verify that it is factual and accurate. Because otherwise, there's no point in having a news service which is giving biased information. And we also try to decide the focus of news. And the focus, the feedback that came back was basically people wanted to know what's happening in the village, like births and deaths, pujas being held, village fairs being held, crime stories like a child being run over, education stories of when other intermediate or high school practicals being held in a village school, and definitely public interest information like health camps, the eye camps were extremely of great interest. The local court that the SDM holds, the date on which that local court is being held, that is the kind of information that was required, and we thought that's a great product mix. Our fourth challenge was, I spoke about credible information. So basically what we did was, though we have two reporters, but there's a senior elderly villager who also happens to be an ex-journalist. He verifies all the content before it is put out to be doubly sure that it is accurate. And the last biggest challenge was that the language that is spoken in our villages is not the Hindi we speak in Delhi. It is a dialect of Hindi, and in this particular village in Sitapur, it was Awadhi. So the news broadcast had to be in Awadhi. It could not have been in Hindi because the villager would not understand it so well. So the broadcast that you just heard Priya Gupta relate is in Awadhi. So we put together these challenges, and these are some of the milestones, how the service developed. We launched it about a year ago, and that's December 6th last year was the first broadcast that was done. And we started with a closed group of 20 villagers because we were not sure how the villagers are going to receive the broadcast, would they like it, would they reject it. And we wanted to know, have their feedback as to whether the content met their requirements or not. In March, we raised the number of subscribers to 250. Even till March, it was free, and all our blocks in Uttar Pradesh, I'm told, have about 65 to 75 villages. So we have a spread of 250 subscribers spread across 50 odd villages who started getting the service. Then we tried to see whether commercial information can work on such a service. Will the village merchant be interested in advertising his goods on such a service? So we went to the village merchants, and to our huge surprise, they agreed to broadcast whatever new products they had in the stores. I have one example here, but I don't know whether it will work or not. And finally, we took the greatest leap forward, which we thought was the greatest challenge. The service was free till this point of time. It was completely being funded by Knight Foundation grants. We decided that to find out whether the villager is going to pay for the service or not. Only then we could decide whether it is of value to him or not. So on July 1st, 2010, we introduced a paid service. The reporter was told to go and collect subscription, and the subscription was fixed at ₹10 per user. To a surprise, our dropout rate was only about 2 or 3%. Of the 250 people who were getting it free for about 5 or 6 months, almost 240, 245 subscribe. And every month is the same story. We have a dropout rate of about 2 or 3 people dropping out, but there are more people wanting to come in, and we have put a conscious cap because it's an academic project. We don't want to go beyond 250. We don't want to raise our costs beyond a certain point. So it clearly shows that there is a need for such a service in Indian villages. And the Indian villager is willing to pay for this service as long as this information is hyperlocal and relevant to him. The revenue model that we developed, or we are in the process of developing, is very much like a traditional media model. The subscription can only form about 1/3 of the revenue. The remaining 2/3 has to come from advertising. And that's very clear, because we can't charge 100 rupees per subscriber for the service. No villagers will pay that kind of money. So we have to look for advertisements to make the model sustainable and to scale it. Let me try if this ad from the village. No, it doesn't work. This picture also is very interesting in the sense, what really amazed me is that some of the people who have a slightly better cell phone, they use the speakerphone, they switch on the speakerphone when the broadcast comes, and a small group of villagers assemble around him to listen to what is the story of the day. The broadcasts incidentally go out twice a day, once at 12 o'clock in the morning and once at 5 p.m. in the evening, and they are of 30-second duration. So talking of advertising, these are the possible sources we are looking at. Hyperlocal, which is going to be a very small amount of revenue. Agribusiness, we think, is going to be the main source of revenue because there are a lot of industries, food, seeds, fertilizers, paints, tractors, pump sets. Telecom, I mean today telecom is one of the biggest advertisers in rural areas. I mean all village walls of homes are painted with telecom ads today. Earlier it used to be seeds of fertilizer ads. Even the tractors are painted with Airtel and Vodafone ads. Public interest government ads, I'm hoping that the state government will find it of use and relevance to relay their service, whatever public interest, like polio drops for instance. How do you reach that message to a villager who has no access to a newspaper, no access to television? You may have Amitabh Bachchan on the national television, but that doesn't reach the villager, so it's quite meaningless. But this is probably the only service that can reach that villager living in a remote area. So I'm hoping that the government will be interested in it. I do not know about the multilateral agencies like WHO, FAO, UNICEF, UNESCO, which has so much. They do so much of creative work, they make such great posters, but if the villager can't reach it, what is the value of that poster? And of course, NGOs. I'm hoping that NGOs might find it interesting. So these are the possible sources of revenue that have been identified. I'll just give you a very brief picture of the kind of costs that are involved for anybody else who wants to set up such a service. The killer cost is the transmission cost. It makes up almost 75% of our costs. The news gathering is very small because the cost of living is so low, it is easy to hire a village reporter, it doesn't hurt. News processing will surely be a cost and the general administration cost. But it is the transmission costs which are really very high. This is a question that I would like all of you, it's a question because the way the number of mobile phones are growing at something like 17 million connections a month according to TAI, surely it's time for the government to look at the kind of content that's going out, whether it's SMS, whether it's voice, whether it's video. Today we don't have any laws for the content being moved on the mobile phones. So it really worries me, do the broadcast laws apply to what I'm doing? If something goes wrong, will the broadcast law be thrown at me? Will it be the community radio law? Will it be that? Will those guidelines be thrown at me? Is it the Information Technology Act, which was amended in 2008? Is that applicable? Because the internet forms the backbone on which a service is being moved. Indian Penal Code, yes, definitely. That is defamation and it goes across the spectrum. Any media, it works with that. But we surely need the government to think that with the number of connections, with the volume of content that's moving, we do need some kind of regulation which actually benefits the end users. I mean, it has to be liberal and broad-minded regulation, which does not. Incidentally, I mean, you would have noticed that when the September 24 Ayodhya verdict was to be announced, the only media that was censored was the mobile. The government issued a directive saying that bulk SMS, bulk MMS can't be moved by any operator for a week, which was later extended by another 2 weeks. For print, for TV, the editors were called and asked to exercise restraint. They were not told to stop. So you can clearly see it's an evolving media. There needs to be some thought about it, and I do hope that somebody comes up with some good suggestions here. Thank you very much.
For media operator to actually ask for regulation is very unusual. I take next one?
Sure. While we switch to the next presentation, we can take maybe one quick question for Sunil.
Wait till the end or take it now?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah, we can take time for
Are
one.
you going to use the presentation?
Yeah.
Oh, great. In that case, go ahead. Yeah. Our next speakers are going to be from Sri Lanka, Ada Deruni, the Macro Entertainment Private Limited. Please go ahead.
Purita Vijay Vikrama is from Ada Derana. Truth First. It's a website from Sri Lanka. It's in 3 languages, I think, Sinhala, English and Tamil. They're also on all other platforms, including mobile, but today we're going to talk about their web presence. I'm not very sure it's an alternative news portal, but it is definitely a news portal.
Hello everyone. As he said, my name is Puvit and I represent Adi Jarana from Sri Lanka. Okay, to go ahead with the main challenge for our site. As a free-to-air channel, we want to make Adi Jarana News brand the leading news provider for all the Sri Lankans living in Sri Lanka and abroad to come into our site and pretty much get all the up-to-date news then and there. And for this, one of our main challenges would be pretty much the political influences. As you must be knowing, pretty much around Southeast Asia, that influence is very high. So that's one of our key challenges which we meet up during these days. And to our vision, as it clearly states, we want pretty much all the Sri Lankans to come to our site and get the news first and fast. And pretty much we just want to rule, that's about it. And as you can see in this chart, we've been on this business for only 5 years, and we just started this website about 3 years back, and still we are on the growing phase of it. And within the short span of about 5 years, I think we have achieved a lot in the sense of news delivery and by giving new innovations. And at the moment we are pretty much trying to invest heavily on development of new services, because people are pretty much going beyond TVs and now they're actually getting into mobiles, and that's how they prefer their news content to be read. Okay. In this we have the identified audience pretty much for us is Sri Lankans living locally and the diaspora who are living abroad. And these are the main delivery services we are actually providing at the moment. We send through SMSs in all 3 languages, like basically spoken in Sri Lanka, that's Sinhala, English and Tamil. And also the web goes in all 3 languages, and the IVR, which people can actually phone in and listen to the news bulletin if they want to. And also the social free networks, which is Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, and we are pretty much uploading all our content to those sites as well. And as you can see, this is the language mix what we are doing. So pretty much for SMSs, all 3 languages are there. TV and Sinhala, since we are in Sri Lanka, we are just going on only in Sinhalese. And the web is also trilingual, and the IVR is trilingual, and Facebook and Twitter is just English at the moment. And to do this, we have this partnership with all the major operators, mobile operators within Sri Lanka, for the SMS and video alerts to be sent out. And this is our main sources of how the process, pretty much the process of news delivery. Our main sources are pretty much on your left hand side, and one of our key process is right at the bottom, which says My Report, where actual people can actually report any kind of a news item around their rural areas to our website or by calling us. And if they, since in a rural area, like every person has a mobile, so they have the chance of taking a picture of something going on and sending it to us, so we can publish with their problems free of charge for them. So it's very, like, people are using that a lot even nowadays. So that's a very innovative thing. I think we started very recently. And as I said before, sorry.
What's that mobile rapid?
This is the thing, like, we had reporters pretty much going here and there on mobiles, pretty much like bikes. So we just like, since it's like, especially around Colombo, it's so congested, and pretty much that's the best way for someone to respond quickly. So we have a team just for that. As I said before, we interact with users in two different ways, especially on the adadera.lk, that's our main news portal. People do send us a lot of comments, and we actually moderate, like we can't publish everything they send because it's mainly because of the political influences, because they can say whatever they want, but 99% of the comments we get, we do publish it. And the other thing is my report, as I said before, like where people can actually send all materials, whatever they want regarding their rural news to our site, which you can publish. And this is our, like, just a quick thing where we say like where the times we actually have news broadcasts. So you can see web and mobiles, IVRs, we do it for 24/7, 365 days. And all the other news bulletins which we go through from a TV and a FM station, that just goes on those given times. So basically our main things would be the web, the mobile service, and the IVR, so people can actually get latest news 24/7 any day. And we just did the analysis with our competitors, and at the moment we are the only people who are like pretty much covering most of the channels except for the print media, because the only reason we didn't think about this, because people are pretty much moving away from print media now. Everything's going digital. So print media, that's why we just thought of not investing a lot to start out with. So at the moment we are going on TV, FM, web, SMSs, then IVRs, and all social networks. And this is just a chart where the share of our news content compared to all the other competitors. So since we just started like 5 years in a media surrounding, I think it's a very limited, like a very short time period. And within that period, I think we had done a lot to achieve 15% out of the whole media. And to say this, in Sri Lanka, we have 38 FM stations, and yeah, Colombo, 38 FM stations and 15 TV stations, which are free to air. So out of that, I think it's more than India, I would say. So I think we have done a lot to achieve that 15% compared with our competitors. And this is just I don't know whether any of y'all have heard about Alexa. Alexa, pretty much it's, yep, Alexa is a site which they give statistics about pretty much all the websites. So according to them, Adadera, among Sri Lankans, Adadera is ranked #1, because like, okay, if you take Google and Facebook, and those are pretty much high up there, and we stand somewhere around 11th at the moment, but that's only Sri Lankan website which is on the top 10. And also pretty much comparing with some competitors, people do come to our site and spend a lot of time. We provide them with a lot of content. So because of that, in this chart it clearly says like people actually spend about maximum 15 minutes average in our site, and our nearest competitor's site is about only 4 minutes. Okay, so thanks. Any questions?
We'll take all the questions at the end. Is that okay, Madan, or do you want to take one now?
There's a quick clarification question got from someone on Twitter. Can you share numbers on how many subscribers, viewers, listeners you have?
Yeah.
Also for Sunil. Where's Sunil? Any numbers you can share on number of subscribers today?
Yes, definitely. We have a cap on 250 subscribers. The reason we have a cap on it is because it's an academic project. We do not want to spend more on the transmission costs. But what it clearly shows is that there are more people who want to buy the service if we're telling them we are sorry.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Just numbers. No, these are numbers of users, subscribers. 250. Yeah.
Yeah, for the SMSs, just in English, we have a subscription for about more than 150,000. And actually, we just started Singlish very recently. That's where, like, most of the mobiles in Sri Lanka, they just go in English. So what we do is we type Sinhalese in English. Yeah. So that is pretty much catching up, and we just started about 2 months back, and up to now we have about 19,000 subscribers for that, and that's pretty much. I'm pretty sure it will pass pretty much English as well. And in regards to social networks, I think Twitter feed has about 300. Yeah, no, 300, because it's still not very popular in Sri Lanka, Twitter for some reason. And Facebook is there about 4,000. Yeah. All right.
Okay, thanks. Maybe more questions afterwards. Yeah.
I'd like to add here that all the panelists are finalists in this particular category for the Manthan Awards. So I think tomorrow they will declare the awards.
Tomorrow
evening. Right. And we are expected to come out with something like 10 recommendations coming out of this discussion. So please keep your ears.
Okay, next is Chitrabani Society, Adult Education through Radio.
Chitrabani in Calcutta is one of the oldest. They have one of the oldest radio projects in India, about 32 years old now? 30 years old now. And it's one of the peculiarities of the Indian regulatory landscape for radio that they produce the content in Calcutta, they broadcast it from Philippines on Radio Veritas, and their entire audience is in India and West Bengal. And after a lot of persuasion, I think they have finally applied for a license for community radio, and it is stuck in some limbo. The limbo is called the Telecom Ministry, I know, but we'll talk about that later. And I would particularly like to know from you, Father Joe, in the decline of shortwave listenership in India, how's that? Anyway, we'll first go through it.
Thank you. My name is P.J. Joseph. Happy to be here, and some of the news broadcasters, they have already explained. Really nice to see how we are taking up. And this is not regarding news broadcasting, it is of course a community broadcasting, so no commercial part in this. As we go, we'll explain. I have only a few slides because the organizers have informed me created 10 slides. I would have got several, but since they said, I suppose it will be okay. This is just the name of the project, Chedana, Adult Education Through Radio. This is a project of Chitrabani, and I have a little 3 minutes of video also, possibly we can see that how it is. How we do is this, through shortwave radio broadcast, through RVA Bengali service podcast, and through audio player of Chitrabani's website, chitravani.com. So all the 4 ways we are actually doing it. Yeah, what it is like, what is happening in the entire project, you can see. I hope the audio will also be there.
should be designed for a specific audience, and the issues should be selected and presented in a way that relates most intimately with that particular audience.
Okay, that is of course the program production happening in the field as it is actually taking. I have an entire video some people have made on that, not by Chitravani. That is for 36 minutes, which I am not going to play here because there is no time for that. How we take this recording to our studio and then we do the editing there. The process is explained that way too. And that has been there from 1980, 1st December 1980. And this December, 1st of this December, we completed 30 years. Credit goes to people who visualized such a process so early in India. We in fact had a little problem, that is why we started that way. Otherwise there could have been a station here in India. We approached that time to the government to set up a radio station because we thought that is an easy way to access the ordinary people in the villages. And we have been told that the airwaves belong to the government till 1996. Of course you know that the Supreme Court made well it belongs to the people. Then we have multiplication of FM radios coming all over the country, both commercial and otherwise. Now the community radios too. When we approach, we have been told this particular idea that you can start a station, but it has to be in the international waters, which means 10 kilometers from in the Arabian Sea or any other seas, I suppose we have. Then there is no problem. The voice coming this side, we have no complaint, but the station shouldn't be here. So that is how that these people came to the rescue in Philippines. So they said, it's okay, we can broadcast from here. It is in a shortwave. That time shortwave was very popular. Today it's not that much. But we were able to help out. And then today we have a center here in Calcutta, and then another one in Bangladesh, and third one in Philippines. I manage that 3 centers. And we produce the content as rightly pointed out at the beginning, here in Bengal and also in Bangladesh. And about 70% of these productions are done just like you have seen in the movie, in the villages. We record them. Of course, today we use digital recording. What you have seen is 4 years ago, so no more cassettes is used now. So we bring that at home in our studios. I have 2 studios. And there it will be edited, added music and everything else, and it is sent online to Manila. And we can also available that the same thing you see, that shortwave live broadcast schedule that is happening. This is the site from which we can get. Then also that in our website called Chitravani's website, here you have a media player. You can play it through the media player anytime, anywhere. Besides that, we also have a podcasting facility where for 3 months programs are kept online. After that we have to remove because we don't have that much of space. Otherwise we need to spend so much money on that. So 3 months of program you can listen anytime, anywhere in the world. And people send comments. For the last 3 years, I have also kept a mobile only for receiving SMS from the listeners. Because I found my mobile was getting jammed because everyone, which means villages, they start getting many, using mobile, which is not the case earlier. Now everyone uses. So you have a separate mobile for them. And they can also send us voice SMS, the facility is there. And now what we are planning is that to set a kind of small setup there in the studio, so anyone from anywhere can talk to us. And this will be made into programs. And we have automatic publicity. As you have seen that if you record your program in the villages, those villages become your publicizers. They will be telling, and we announce in advance next week the program going to be from your village. And that village and their neighbors and their relatives and friends anywhere else, automatically this goes. This is how it works, and it has worked quite well for so many years. The focus was very simple. As you have seen that it is adult education through radio, we said. People have asked us, why don't you put the adult literacy, which is better, and several government, our friends are running the same. We said literacy and education are not same. Very simple. Because we have found very highly illiterate, educated people in the villages. Illiterate but highly educated. They know how to manage their environment, they know how to manage their children, they know how to take care of their cows and all the animals around. That is on the one hand. We could also, of course, without a prejudice to anyone who is highly educated and highly literate, I have nothing against, but I have also seen people that who are highly literate but not educated. Nothing to do with anyone. But this is because we have no connection with what is happening in the ground reality. And when people ask us, we may not have answers. We will have always an idea that, okay, we know everything, they know nothing, so I will give. Here, the other way around. People tell us that what we know, and that is what we broadcast. And we have taken issues which are immediately relevant to them. Till today, we have not chosen a particular issue. It all have come from the people. They said, we have a problem with the superstitions. And then we said, how do we tackle? We don't know. You tell us how do you. And then they explained how to tackle the situation too. They have a problem, they have a solution. A simple example. Maybe a kind of we have this superstition like if a black cat or something runs in front of you, then you have to stop your gari, and then of course either go back or wait there and after some time you move on. Which is a harmless one. Maybe you might reach your home 10 minutes late, but other than that there is no big problem with that. But there could also be a superstition there. People think that why is my child sick? God sent the sickness. No, it's because of that punishment. And then to that there is any number of arguments saying that it is not, they will not believe you. And they will tell you, who are you to teach me? I know. Here we have to say a very simple method. We have to tell them that, okay, in the corner of the village you have an MBBS doctor. Don't you think he is also being sent by the same God? Why don't you take the kids there? Problem solved. Very simple. There is nothing very highly imaginative, but a very simple one. We have also taken HIV/AIDS, we have taken drugs, abuse, and there are positive issues also. There are medicinal plants and similar kinds. These kind of, and the girls' child, their educations, all that comes in part of the thing. And there are people who have over the years have become addicted to, I must use that word, addicted, because radio listening is an addiction. It is. We have found in the last 30 years. Example is from last Sunday when we have celebrated 30 years of our broadcasting. One person who never missed any of these meetings annually from the last 30 years. He came and he explained to the audience, we were about 500 people, all the MLAs, MPs of the place, all of them were there. And he explained, I am sorry to tell you that my wife is in the hospital for the last 6 days. She is in semi-coma. I left her at that because I do not want to miss this meeting. And we said, if it is not addiction, you can name it that anything else? No. As soon as the program over, he went, rushed back to his wife. But I was just, really struck by such people. That's called the commitment. And I must say that we have something, it's a conservative estimate. We have about 4 lakh listeners in Bengal, West Bengal, and Manipur and those northeastern states where people speak Bengali, and also similar number in Bangladesh. This is a present situation, and only hitch is that you will have to look and find some generous soul to support us, because there is no money coming from the people. So my business is to go around knocking at various doors and see where will I get 3 or 4 or 5 lakhs every year. Nothing else. But it was good knocking at the doors, because I found people like this there. And it has been really that way, I must say, in terms of the perspective from the people, it has been successful. If you look at other way around, how much money you spend on, it has not been. So we can decide what we do in future. But we also need to look at the various other options now coming up, because the FM stations are available. Similar things maybe we could run, but we are looking at the options. Thank you.
Terrific case study, very inspiring. Our next case study is going to be Yal Devi, radioactive community radio of 90.4 megahertz, India.
Please get started. I will introduce you. We have Marwan Abubakar and Pinky Chandran from Radioactive. Radioactive is one of the earliest campus-based community stations in India, and certainly the oldest in Karnataka, I think, and only one in urban Bangalore. Marwan will introduce the radio service, and then Pinky will take it from there.
Thank you, Sajan. Radioactive, as all of you heard, is Bangalore's first community radio station, started in 25th June 2007. Radioactive is an urban community radio catering to heterogeneous and diverse groups, where people from different communities are encouraged to make use of our station for their development. Radioactive is located in central Bangalore, caters to various different groups like the LGBT community, the disabled groups, people living with HIV/AIDS, auto drivers, senior citizens, and by geographical locations like Srirampura, Dasarahalli, Majestic, Ijipura, etc., up to 50-kilometer radius. Well, here are some of our famous community role model RJs. Well, maybe everybody or a few of you would have heard of RJ Auto Shivkumar. He's an auto driver by profession. He's a school dropout. He's also a social worker, writer and a poet. And he's also a community radio mentor. Here you can see in the pictures that he is interviewing, this is a live program that he hosts called Mukhamukhi, which is called a face-off, where he has involved officials and the public directly through phone-in program. And there was this new TV article on him by our local TV channel, and some of his articles are there. Here is RJ Priyanka, who is Bangalore's first RJ from the LGBT community. She focuses mainly on developing her community, her LGBT community. So as you can see, she's doing programs related to her community, and some of her articles featured by our local newspapers. Some of our other RJs include Shantama, who is a local resident of Srirampura, and she coordinates the community members from Srirampuram for programs. Then we have RJ Jaydev, who is visually impaired and the studio coordinator for our station. RJ Surendra, he involves with the HIV AIDS group for our radio station. These are some of our community production team and student facilitators for our radio station. Well, if you were thinking what is Radioactive all about, I could say Radioactive is a medium for different community groups to converge and discuss issues of relevance, to find solutions, to look at empowerment, to encourage participation, to support cultural diversity and social harmony, and to promote gender equality. Our broadcasting hours are 24 hours as now. I don't think we have any more time left for that. Well, coming to social and financial sustainability, I'll just pass it on to Piki Chan to continue.
All right. There has been a lot of talk about, considering that we are licensed to a university, so for us funding should be easy. But I'm very happy to say that the management has played no role. Apart from supplying the technical equipments, we are now socially and financially very sustainable. A few examples are the community-based projects that we've launched. This is urban waste management initiatives launched in Feb 2010. We then became a part of the Solid Waste Management Roundtable. You can see the logo over there. It's basically a forum of various Bangalore-based organizations and individuals, vendors working in the field of waste management. Our success stories till date are, though we launched the project in Feb 2010, we've been working from August 15, 2009. So till date, as a group, we've converted about 17,000 households, institutions in Bangalore in adopting zero waste management practices. That is by recycling and composting. We've also been appointed by the Karnataka Pollution Control Board as environmental warden, so Radioactive can go in and inspect any property and look at implementing waste management solutions. The project also works with waste pickers and slum dwellers. This project is a completely self-sustaining project. It generates about 2 lakhs income a month. And this is not from the whole 17,000 because there are various groups working with it. From the 36 places that we are working, it generates about 2 lakhs a month, which is enough to run our station and plus make a profit. The other project is street dog animal management and welfare, because we believe that it's a twin problem of street dogs and garbage issues, and that's the reason why it was started. And it all started based from the community itself, that the whole idea of adoption camps stemmed about. And till date, we've succeeded in finding homes for about 100 street pups. There are a few news articles, and you can see some of the kids with the dogs over there. The other projects that we've also been awarded projects by the Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India. The first one is Science for Women's Health and Nutrition. The target area were Matikere and Yeshwanthpur. 1,000 households were surveyed, and the survey was conducted by SENCA, and the status is completed. This was completed in 2008. Recently, we've been sanctioned the other project, which is Understanding Planet Earth for Women and Children. The target areas are Dasrani and Srirampura, again slums. We've just completed the baseline and capacity, where we surveyed about 1,040. The pictures out there is about the community members interviewing, surveying people living in that particular area, and the second picture is the capacity building workshop. The other projects that we also run is a radioactive life skills program, all in the slums. We also run it in private schools so that we get some income out of that. And we've also launched this project called Empowering Community Members in Business Schools. So the target areas that we've selected, Tasrali or Srirampura, we're looking at starting at least 500, though the target group is 1,500 micro enterprises in these areas. So this will follow a very SHG model for income generation. So all these things contribute to the content for the radio station, and that's the reason why we're able to run 24 hours. The other projects that we also work on, building blocks, this is with construction workers. Bangalore has a lot of migrant construction workers. So basically what we do is in the mornings, we engage the kids in basic arithmetic, reading, writing skills. And in the evenings, after 6 o'clock, the women come in and make programs. Storytelling, it's a every Saturday feature where from 2 o'clock onwards, we engage with the kids at Srirampura. And they all come in together at the community hall. There is a student, child RJ between the age of 6 to 14. Every week it changes. And then they come back with story. They've been given homework and they also have like a competition on this thing. Recently we launched this project, Project Resistance, which is focused on dowry and domestic violence with another NGO. And the production for that will go on air shortly. Empowering Adolescents is again another project that we run at the slum, basically, targeting the age groups are 12 to 18. So basically a few of our milestones, we have a diverse set of community members like auto drivers, LGBT group, etc. And all our RJs have been featured in all the media, thereby they have now become like community role models. And 70,000 households, converting them into adopting waste management is a huge success for us. And two projects that we've been awarded by the Ministry of Science and Technology. Some of our articles in the newspaper. And our USP, I would say, is the diversity of participants, all the community-based projects which help us achieve our sustainability, and our network with different NGOs, institutions, and social groups. The way forward is we're looking at registering the program committee group as a legal registered body by June 2011. That's when we will complete our 4th anniversary. So that will help them take over the station when we finish our 5 years. We also want to put together a succession plan, for more community